Hello, welcome to HOS Podcast. This is episode number 26. I'm your host, Ryan Munsey, and today's guest is Logan Gelbrich from Deuce Gym in Venice Beach, California. Logan, thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's this is cool. Like I was just saying, I'm new to Skype, but not new to the podcast thing. So hopefully we can have some fun.
Yeah, I'm confident that we will. So, I guess for everybody listening, it's been about 2 weeks since I was out in LA for the Bulletproof Biohacking Conference. While I was there, I took a day to kind of travel around LA, see a couple of people, and make a few connections. And Logan and the crew at Deuce Gym was one of those stops. So I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be able to meet everybody out there. And you know, Logan has a really cool thing, and his team have a really cool thing going on out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about what they're doing. And before we get into that, you know, tell you a little bit about Logan. He is co-founder not only of Deuce Gym, but of Original Nutritionals. Former professional baseball player, writes for Box Magazine. He's a CrossFit strongman coach, among other things. So get ready for a really cool episode. And with that, Logan, let's talk a little bit about what Deuce Gym is, how it got started, the name, all of that.
Yeah, totally. So, you know, Deuce is a unique place. You know, I feel like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think maybe some of the feelings that you had about it and maybe the interest you had in it, not knowing everything about it, is something that everybody kind of shares. It's like this intriguing place, you know, in a very like straightforward kind of way. It's an indoor-outdoor gym in Venice Beach, California. Aesthetically, it's pretty gritty, you know. The branding and the kind of texture of the experience there is pretty rich. It used to be an auto service garage, and it's very apparent that it's an auto service garage, you know. And so we kind of ran with that, and you know, it's like in many ways like an outdoor adult, you know, playground. We practice, you know, a pretty extensive GPP program, you know, so we're talking about just broad general strength and conditioning. That part of the gym is a CrossFit affiliate. We also have specialty courses where we kind of, you know, are the opposite of general in our practices, and we talk about there's a powerlifting course, there's a strongman course, we have Olympic weightlifting there, we even have goal setting, and so it kind of turns the normal gym experience on its head, and I think that kind of stands up even in the CrossFit conversation, for example. And yeah, like how it got started, it's a long time coming, you know, and I think that's really helped with our like early days. I mean, I think we're like 15 months into this thing, but most people tend to speak about the gym and think about the gym as if it's much, much older than that. You know, we have a really deep-rooted community. The backstory on that is that started almost 3 years ago now. You know, just kind of quickly, at the end of my baseball career, I wanted to build businesses, and that story looked like going back to some of the great coaches that I had along the way, one of which is Stefan Roche. He was the head strength coach at the University of San Diego, where I played in college, and he is like, you know, one of the OG CrossFit HQ flow masters. You know, he's like, I like to describe him as probably the least famous, important, original CrossFit person. He's like such a down-to-earth, quiet guy, and had such an impact on me and my teammates and all that. So I came back to him and said, hey, I have this business plan, this idea to kind of take a lot of what you've talked about with us here, and create like a fitness school. And I'm from Los Angeles, and so for me, I wanted to get back up this way from San Diego, and I said, hey, who should I go see? You know, I'm just a kid. Who should I go learn from?
Right.
And so he sent me to Andy Petronic at CrossFit Los Angeles, and I basically like kicked his door in and said, I'm going to clean your bathrooms better than anybody ever has, type of deal. And, talked him into letting me learn the ropes. And from there, the plan all along was to learn from them and grow kind of my own business. And they were on board with that. And we still have a great relationship with that gym. And that's where I met Danny. And Danny Leslie, who I started the outdoor program with and also Deuce Gym with, was a student there and then a coach there as well, and at CrossFit LA. And, he comes from more of a personal training background, very successful personal trainer in Los Angeles. And he said, I think he just had like a long day one day. He was like, hey, man, like, I really want to do something on my own, and teaching people one-on-one is hard, and working for this other big brand name gym is difficult. And that's where we kind of like shared our ideas. And that thing started like in the most humble of beginnings out in the park. It was beautiful, overlooking Pacific Ocean with like 4 of his personal training clients, a terrible boombox, and like some beach towels and a shoddy whiteboard. And we kind of just faked it. We pretended as if this was a full-fledged gym, and it definitely wasn't, and that grew and grew and grew until it was like a thing, the fake gym is what it was later called, but the long terrible name that we the official name was Functional Fitness on the Bluffs, and that's turned into a joke as like the longest, most difficult named brand ever. But despite our best efforts to screw it up, we, I think we did a really great job, and long story short, that's turned into what is now Deuce Gym, and that's in Venice, California. It's kind of a unique story with the name. People ask all the time, what's up with the name? And so it's an auto service garage. The 2 is representative of the second gym. Like right when we started Deuce, there was both the outdoor program and Deuce Gym in Venice, and the idea was to work both of them at the same time. Okay. 100% of people ended up coming over from the outdoor program, so that thing kind of like figured itself out. But the backstory is that we kind of did some research around the place that you've been to, Deuce in Venice, and in 1915. Hang with me here, this is true. Yeah. In 1915, the Grand Prix of the world, so auto racing, basically. Imagine like goggles and like, I think top speed was like 43 miles an hour.
Like the car piece in Monopoly?
That is the car that like won, And so the 2, and the branding surrounding it is like the number on the side of the race car. And the story goes that Grand Prix was supposed to be held in Santa Monica, California, where we started the outdoor program. And just before the race started, or was getting, the race date was getting closer, the residents of Santa Monica became quite opinionated about auto racing in their town. And so they eventually swayed the mayor's opinion on the thing, and they opted out of the race, saying things like, there's old articles about it. It's really cool. Saying things like, racing is not good for the community. It's dangerous. This doesn't belong here, etc. And so there's this huge metaphor there, because we created this beautiful thing out in the park overlooking the ocean in Santa Monica, and there's a small, passionate group of people that said, weightlifting does not belong here, and this is not good for the community, and this doesn't, fit for Santa Monica. And so Venice raised their hand, and the Grand Prix was held in Venice, and it was an international success. I think like 70,000 people lined the streets. Lincoln Boulevard was part of the course. That's the road that runs right in front of Lincoln, and so we embrace that metaphor. That's kind of also where the weightlifting is not a crime shirt comes from, and all of that. Okay. And so there's a lot of automotive look and feel to the brand, and so Deuce lives on in Venice.
That is really cool, man. That's really cool. So there's a lot of stuff that you mentioned in there that we can touch on, but I think to kind of continue talking about the community and Venice and some history of the area, I mean, I guess, and like you were saying earlier, I mean, you're not putting words in my mouth. I mean, I guess you are, but they were correct. I mean, that's very much the way I found you guys on social media, and you know, I saw this thing that you guys have out there, and I'm like, man, if I'm going to be in that area, I'm going to go stop by. I want to see this. I want to check it out. And you know, it seemed to me, at least on social media, and even more so when I was there in person, that, you know, this sense of community and this kind of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, this band of brothers, you know, that you guys have kind of created there is very, to me, reminiscent of the way I first heard of Venice Beach, which was, you know, bodybuilding's golden era of, you know, Arnold and those guys, Muscle Beach. And, you know, not to say that that's what you guys are attempting to recreate, but I think you guys have something similar to what comes to people's mind when they think about that era and that place.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. You know, I think for us, you almost can make a choice at any turn, and this is maybe sappy and corny or whatever, but whatever, everything that's corny is true. Don't forget that. You know, like, so I think for us, the way we kind of think about literally everything, from like the words that we choose to use when we coach and the words that we choose not to use, and everything from branding to weird decisions around the gym and so on, is like, you have a decision to do things like, you know, for the better or for the worse, you know, to add value or take away value. And, you know, I think it diminishes some of the value. It's like choosing not to do it the best way possible, to ignore a lot of these great things that you're talking about with like our community and whatnot, you know. In a very simple way, it's better to embrace the community element and do these extra things that people are like, oh, that's really cool. Like, that you guys have a coffee club in your gym. Like, how did you know to do that? Like, well, having a coffee club is better than not having a coffee club. Coffee is better than not coffee. You know what I mean? This is like very logical, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, that's something that's it's genuine and it's organic, so it works. So, you know, that's not, hey, if you're listening to this, you need to have a coffee club in your gym. You know, if you as the person behind the gym are not a coffee drinker, or if it's not something you're passionate about, not something you can share, don't try to do that. But you know, since you brought that up, you guys have this. You have quite a few like hashtags and sayings, but one of them is going down this pirate. Tell us about the pirate and you know, talk about the coffee club, because I didn't even know you guys had a coffee club. So
the pirate life hashtag, or the pirate theme, is it's kind of twofold. You know, on one side we fly a pirate flag above the gym, which is, you know, kind of controversial depending on what you feel about the whole thing. But you know, it's a very powerful thing. It evokes a certain type of emotion, and for us, it's the right one, I think.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, controversy aside, to you, what does it represent?
You know, so for us, the quote that we use is, I believe it's the Steve Jobs quote, why be in the Navy when you can be a pirate? And it's kind of just a metaphor as to, like, look, a lot of what this gym community is about and what we do is, in some ways, a passionate rebuttal to what we see being done in our industry, is you call it that.
The standard quo, or like you said earlier, that's how everybody else does it, so that's how we're going to do it, even if that may not be the best way or to our fullest potential.
Totally, and I think we're sitting right here. These aren't, you know, my words. I mean, I've heard this from people much more accomplished than I. You know, Kelly Starrett, Carl Powley, whatever. You know, like, we're in the middle of a renaissance. Whether you have the scope to appreciate that or not, we're going to look back on this time and see that there was a definite shift in things, and it's this thirst for education. It's this thirst for kind of self-betterment, and it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And that pirate theme, flying that pirate flag is a powerful message, I think, because it's the same reason why if I go to a dinner party and meet someone for the first time and someone introduces me to a person as a trainer, I want to throw up in my mouth. Like, there's the word, like, I don't want to be associated with what that means to so many people.
Right.
And that's a product of kind of what's been done in the fitness industry. And in general, like, if you're going to generalize and look at that, like, in my opinion, it's atrocious. It's very surface level, and it's not really impactful or inspiring or anything I want to be a part of. Whereas what we're doing, obviously I'm biased, is I think something that's like a few layers deeper, and that I'm not at all saying that we have anything figured out. All we're doing is like asking questions. Literally, that's all we're guided by is why. And is this the best way? What's here? Let's dig a little deeper. What's there? Maybe this is something that we should entertain. And if you are perpetually asking those questions, that, in my opinion, kind of like perpetuates this pirate life that can feel rebellious, but it's just hungry for like this kind of better scenario,
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And one of my best friends, Tate Fletcher, gets a lot of credit on the pirate life thing too. That's very much so a motto of his. So.
Now, for people that may not know, he's behind Caveman Coffee to an extent, and is that the genesis of the coffee club, or how did that come about?
Coffee definitely has always tasted good. So,
I agree. I will second that.
I've always been a fan of coffee. However, that's the only coffee we sell at the gym. It's the coffee that we provide, and they're really good people. So they help us a lot with that. But yeah, we're coffee fans through and through. They just happen to be basically the coffee version of what we are. They're asking big questions and wanting to see what's what, and I think they're kind of creating something wonderful with Caveman Coffee.
So how does your coffee club work? Is it open to members? Is it just like tell us about it?
Totally. So there's always coffee at the gym. There's cold brew and there's brewed awesome single origin coffee. That's always going to be a thing. However,
I noticed when I was out there was some sitting in the French press.
Yeah, exactly. And the coffee club, the most formal version of it is like there's a wooden rack, sweet smelling mahogany probably, of coffee cups. So we sell coffee mugs that are branded with our logo and whatnot. And but the idea with the coffee club was that there's like a yearly fee, small nominal fee, and if you want to be in the club, you pay this fee and you get like real estate on the mahogany display with your name, and your coffee cup hangs there gloriously, and you have unlimited access to coffee all year long, which is somehow different than the unlimited access that everyone has to coffee.
That is really cool. That's really
cool.
Yeah.
We have this saying, and I'm almost reluctant to repeat it until I can somehow like legally capture this thing, because I think it's really awesome. You don't have to work out to kick it, and so there's like we strip away all of the like extra baggage that comes with like fitness. You know what I mean? Like I think I would hope you experience this, but when the door is open at Deuce Gym, I want people to feel like they can hang out there, and they do. Like people will spend hours and hours and hours at the gym and not lift a single weight because they want to be around positive people.
Yeah. And I'm laughing because we have the exact same thing going on. We had last night, we had a couple of ladies come in for an orientation, and some of them were asking the question about being intimidated because, like you guys, we have a facility that, we don't have any machines, nothing plugs in. And to somebody who's never been outside of, the big box facility, that can be a very intimidating situation to walk into. But the thing that they said eased their mind even before talking to us was the fact that we had a couple of classes going on, and many of the people who were working out had, young kids that were in the gym playing and hanging out while their parents are working out. There were a couple other people, like you said, just kicking it. And it's a very cool thing. We have members who will come by after their workout. They'll go home and eat and come back and hang out later.
Right.
It's definitely an environment like that, and I think that's something we strive to do as well. Like you said, you kind of strip away all the superficial things that get tied up into so many of the other, I guess you could call them niches or areas of weightlifting or fitness or health or whatever you want to call it. But that kind of leads me into the next question I was going to ask you anyway, is you guys have done a great job of kind of bringing an underground or what was formerly considered an underground way of training, to the masses. I mean, 5-10 years ago, strongman and powerlifting was not something that attracted masses of people. You guys are doing a great job of, showcasing that, getting people in, and maybe it has to do with what you said, stripping down a lot of those preconceived notions or negative connotations. But how are you guys able to have such success with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like a twofold thing. From a 1,000-yard kind of removed, macro view of the thing. I think that comes down to like a belief system. So like our staff and coaches and the people that are involved in the program believe, like in the very most deepest part of their being, that this stuff is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is it for everyone, it is almost critical to developing the types of things that we want: health, strength, longevity, fitness, capacity, all of this, right? And if you believe that, then you have a chance to have an effect on other people in that way, right? If I'm just a powerlifter and I'm back squat 850 and raw or whatever, and I'm just a freak, and I love this sport, and I'm attached to the idea of competitive powerlifting, and that's just my niche, and I don't really have this belief structure that says that this is for everything or should be for everyone, or I have an interest and an ability to bestow this information on other people, then you don't have a chance to share with other people. And even if you did, someone tapped you on the shoulder and said, hey, you realize you could make money with this thing that you like to do every day by coaching the masses, it would still be forced and fake, and it wouldn't feel genuine, like you've kind of mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And so it starts there. We really believe that. Like it's not weird or fringy or, in my opinion, even unique that one would, whether you're a mother or a father or young or old or an athlete or not, to carry heavy sandbags and load Atlas stones. And that's not like, hey, you want to have a cool like strongman birthday party? Like that it comes from this place of like, no, these are the things that we should be doing, and let me tell you why. And that's captivating for people, because without the why, what are we doing here type of thing? You know what I mean? And I think that's a lot of what happens in other like training modalities. And I don't want to like throw jabs or whatever like other people's things, but I don't think that everyone in like the fitness industry will say has sat down and thought through their thing that way.
Right.
Whatever it is. Like I could devote my life to being a Zumba instructor, but I think you could question me and say, well, why that and not this? And if I can't tell you something other than it's really fun and you can lose weight, then I think we need to ask more questions. You know what I mean? That's the place that we're coming from, which is, it comes with a lot of responsibility, I think, for us to continue to like ask those questions and support that. But now we have a chance to affect other people. And then the other thing is like telling people, sharing this and being about it is huge. You know, for us, we make this thing inclusive, and you can kind of make any reality you want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have the strongman gym that like scoffs at people that don't have triple body weight, you know, deadlifts, like, well, that's cool, but you also can't be upset when you don't have an impact on people, because you know who has triple body weight deadlifts? No one on this block. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's kind of the feeling around here.
Yeah, you're talking to 1% of the population or smaller.
Yeah.
Set standards that high, and that was a really, really well worded answer. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, yeah, wow, that was awesome. So, you did say one thing in there, kind of talking about, you know, the responsibility that you have, and that I'll say we have, you know, because I kind of lump what we're doing in with what you guys are doing in a sense of, you know, we're asking those questions why. We're trying to do anything and everything that we do to the best of our ability to provide the best possible service, you know, to as many people as we can. We can help as many people. And, you know, once you make that commitment, that's something that you dedicate your whole life to, and you kind of have this responsibility to never stop asking those questions. Where do you go for a lot of your information? What are your favorite sources to kind of continue pushing your knowledge?
That's a good question. You know, like I don't claim to be some sort of person of authority, and when people view me in that way, or give that to me, or you know, I have that effect on them, that's something that's just a product of you know, being a student of the game, you know. And so for me, the sky's the limit. Like, luckily along the way, I've had just amazing coaches, even coaches that, like, if I knew then like who they were and like how big of a deal they were, I would have like made a bigger deal about it, you know. Right. And it's like, in college, you know, Stefan was huge. Casey and Natalie Bergner, you know, were assistant coaches there. Like, just that was like a normal thing. Like, the Bergner family is here. Like, awesome. Let's snatch like some barbells. Like, you know, JP Bolwan, who's now a seminar guy, and even on into like professional ball, you know, both on the physical part and the sports psychology part. You know, we were very progressive in college. We had a team sports psychologist, Carlene Sugarman. She's involved with my brand Original Nutritionals as well. And it's like these resources just like fell into my lap and have created maybe like a thirst for knowledge now that looks like, you know, bugging Carl Pally for anything and everything that's inside of his brain. You know, in my opinion, he's the best coach of human movement in the country, or he's having the biggest conversation about human movement, most inclusive conversation about human movement in the country. Nate Helming is asking huge questions about the endurance world and strength and conditioning. What does it mean to be a strong runner? You know, but that never stops. You know, I'm very much so more and more active in like the strongman world. You know, as an athlete, I'm a novice. You know, I'll be doing my first contest next year. But as a coach, I've luckily been able to affect a lot of young people in a general fitness type of way, not in a competitive strongman type of way. Right. With that. And so, you know, I've got lots of awesome people in that community that I'm looking to learn from. You know, luckily at the gym, we're having Laura Phelps and Shane Sweat from Conjugate, you know, Westside Barbell, come out and do a seminar at the gym. And so the sky's the limit. You know, we talk all the time about, if you're not married to a certain stance, then I don't have anything to defend. You know what I mean? People can't wait to call me like a CrossFit coach or say that Deuce is a CrossFit gym, which is like, both of those are true statements. But I'm not in a position to make sure that CrossFit is the best thing on earth and let me defend all of these things that are coming my way. We're just talking about human movement, right? And so sky's the limit. It's the most just inclusive, fun conversation ever. And so, everyone I come into contact with is an opportunity to learn something, you know?
Well, and I'll say two things on that. One is, if somebody were to say, you know, hey, you're CrossFit or the gym is CrossFit, and that's all I'm going to stop. I'm not going to look any more into what you guys are doing. That's on them. That's short-sighted on their part, and you know, that's theirs to bear and deal with. But I mean, just at personal, you know, I think you sell yourself short a little bit. I mean, you have some abilities and a desire to. I mean, like you said, yeah, you kind of were in some situations and had people around you, but so did everybody else on your baseball team. So did a lot of other people. I mean, you have to, you have to take action and you know, ask those questions and you know, make those connections and make that progress to go forward. So, you know, it's just like you said about that power lifter, you know, in theory who squats 850 or whatever, and you know, doesn't have the desire to want to help people, you know, then they never will. But so we're going to shift gears a little bit. But you guys are expanding, and you have some cool news. You want to tell people about that?
Yeah, we just kind of announced it. Basically, the growth of the Deuce brand and kind of the message and what we're trying to do, it's inevitable that it's going to leave the walls of the garage that you've been at. And what that looks like most immediately is there's a baseball academy in Torrance, California that Shane Schumacher, who's a family friend, he coached my brother in college and scouted me in high school, and so we've known each other for a long time. He has an incredible facility down there called the Refinery. It's an unbelievable resource for, you know, young kids, and
that's a great name.
Yeah, and down there there's like a mobile gasoline like refinery, so it's very like fitting in that way. But it's an unbelievable resource for baseball and softball players and other team sport athletes, all the way up to, you know, there's major leaguers and professional softball players there as well. But they have a full-fledged strength and conditioning facility, and he asked me a few times, I guess, to be involved in creating something special there, and I had to say no, like multiple times. It was like the early days of getting all these other projects going, and finally, a big part of Deuce Gym is this coaches prep program we have. We pour a lot of time and resources into developing coaches, and that's the only way that people can be involved with any sort of leadership capacity at Deuce, is coming through the program first as a student, and then as a student inside of the coaches prep program. And we've got some rock stars in there. Two of those guys are actually baseball guys, Ronnie Lopez and Chris Pasquale. And finally, when Shane kind of reached out again, I said, you know what, I got a couple guys, and we're going to come down there and see what we can do. And just with 1% of guidance and 99% of their hard work, they've taken this kind of early trial period of what this could look like of a couple months and turned it into a monster. And so they've taken over that program, and Shane and the people at the Refinery have said, hey, this is your guys. You can call it what you want. This is your facility, and just make us better, you know. And so those guys opted to kind of keep it in the Deuce family, and so that's going to be another location for us. A little bit different goals. It won't be as GPP focused as the garage in Venice, but that is kind of a power athlete bias for team sports, volleyball, baseball, football, softball, basketball, and they are doing an excellent job spreading that conversation that I think is the most important conversation in fitness, which is this skill-based approach, this kind of movement-based approach. And holy cow, like if we had this when we were kids, type of thing, and exactly. So it's amazing.
Yep. That is really cool. So, I mean, congratulations to you guys on that. And I'm sure that those guys and anything that's associated with that brand, you guys are going to rock that out and have a great impact on those kids.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. We're excited.
Well, one other thing that we definitely want to work in is, we said in the bio that you're a co-founder of Original Nutritionals, and you mentioned in one of your other answers that somebody from your college days is also associated with that. So let's get into that. Tell us what Original Nutritionals is, and how did you get? I mean, not everybody starts a supplement company, so that's got to be a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, man, I was just talking about this earlier. It's been over 3 years now. In 2011, my partner Chris Cosino and I started Original Nutritionals, which it came about in a funny way. At the time, I was coaching my partner's kids in strength and conditioning and baseball. And I tended to be a little bit of a unique coach for these kids. And so, we were doing tournaments and whatnot. And the conversation was like baseball flavored, like philosophy class. These parents were like, whoa, this is like way more than we signed up for in like a kind of a cool way. And so I think I had an impact on those kids and their parents too. And Chris, maybe more so than most, was just really interested in my perspective on strength and conditioning, and then obviously nutrition. And at the time, the CrossFit was still pretty young, and he was telling me more about his career and basically his stories. He's a pedigree kind of nutraceutical guy. His dad was involved in that industry. He helped pioneer krill oil to market, which took like 9 years of kind of information and science, and he helps brands of all different sizes kind of acquire ingredients and formulate products and all that. And in him sharing this with me, I was always like, that's really cool, but I'm as uninterested in supplements as anybody ever. I'm like a very extreme case of this like rigid food only type of guy. Okay. And so I was like, that's cool. I totally respect it, but I got nothing for you. I can't get excited about protein powder. Sorry. And so he always was just kind of interested in my perspective, and that kind of like washed away when I continually said no to him about considering anything further, business-wise or otherwise. And, flash forward like 3 or 4 months, a friend of his at Muscle and Performance was doing an article on CrossFit, and he didn't know a single person in CrossFit, and neither did Chris except for me. And so he said, hey, can I have you talk to this guy that needs someone to talk to about this whole CrossFit thing? They want to do an article. And so they came by the gym where, my mentor, Andy Petronic's gym, CrossFit Los Angeles, and we met. And a lot of weird things collided at that time. We tricked the field and made it to the CrossFit Games that year. And these guys walked into the gym, and I was kind of just sharing, the ethos of what the thing's all about and why this and why that. And while we were there, I think my partner, he saw some fish oil like laying around the gym, some like Barleans or something like that, and he goes, hey, what's this? And I go, it's a fish oil, take it every day. And he's like, what? He goes, like, you realize this is what I'm talking about. We can do this better than anybody in the world. Like, we need to talk because, relative to what we're looking at here, we can do this better. And I said, fine. Like, let's get on a call. Let's figure it out. I'll tell you what my opinion is of the thing, and we'll go from there. And I'll never forget, I was on my phone, and he put together kind of like a little all-star team. Our chief of science is incredible, and then one other partner. There's 4 of us total, and they just listened to me run my mouth about how I would do it if I hypothetically were to do it. And I said, here's the deal. This brand is going to be more about what we don't sell than what we do sell. This is going to be like a purity, kind of intellectual brand that people are going to have a chance to be really, really passionate about. Whereas maybe other brands sell a lot of stuff and make a lot of money, but I don't know if anyone like wakes up in the morning or goes to bed at night like saluting that flag type of thing, you know. And so our core business is omega-3. We have 2 liquid omega-3 products that are incredible. Both are natural triglyceride form, which is kind of a unique thing in the world of omega-3. Super incredible levels of EPA and DHA. We don't have soy lecithin, which is really hard to find in the community, and we don't add any sweeteners to anything. And so it's kind of the clean athlete brand is the idea, and we're just having a conversation about real performance, real nutrition, and it's kind of like the one of these to the supplement business, you know. And it's awesome. We're in hundreds of gyms and practitioners' offices, and it's just a couple guys that like to front squat and, you know, eat grass-fed beef.
I'm right there with you on both of those. So
yeah.
Go back to, you know, when you said, you know, he was, I guess it was at the CrossFit Los Angeles, and, you know, he says, you know, what is this? And you're like, oh, that's fish oil. I take it every day. So a guy that's anti-supplement, for lack of a better word, taking fish oil every day. I mean, what's the thing in your head that said, all right, you know, this is so important that I've got to take this every day? Or do you not view that as a supplement? Do you view it more as concentrated nutrition?
Yeah, for me, it's more of like a real food loophole. You know, it's an unnecessary. It's a necessary evil, if you will, in terms of like that no supplement perspective. Mm-hmm. You know, in college, that was the one thing that like Stefan would like tell us to take. You know, and you know, when you're trying to be the best in the world at something, you know, not in like a illegal, fringy, shady type of way, but you're like, you know, how do I get strong? Like, I'm here to like be the best. What's the deal? Like, what do I eat? What do I drink? Whatever. And he's like, you know, we had this real food conversation and talking about protein and various types of carbohydrates and kind of like how to play the game and fish oil. And at the time we were taking like 16 capsules a day to get our 3 to 5 grams or whatever it was at the time, and so it was always this kind of like to me this element of sports nutrition that had a lot of integrity. And for me, I was a catcher, right? And so it's like they always say the first day of the season is the only day that you feel good. And so, you know, you naturally evolve in these, like, especially in a sport like baseball where you play 7 days a week, especially in pro ball. It's like being in the circus, you know. It's like you're going around from town to town and it just doesn't stop. And so I was like a, you know, 6 Advil a day guy for whatever reason. And for me, the ideology and the philosophy of taking omega-3 to kind of right this imbalance, you know, inflammatory imbalance in the body, fit my personal view of the world. Kind of got me off of the NSAID kind of issue, and as athletes, I think it's critical. You know, we have a third party that we do like finger prick blood tests with, and we get some omega-6, omega-3 ratios back, and this is a problem in our country. You know, so whether you're an athlete or not, this thing is critical. And so even someone like me that eats extremely clean, getting that relationship back on par from omega-6 to omega-3 is a critical one. And so in my view, this didn't fall into the category of like, you know, chocolate chip cookie dough muscle milk, like type of what the hell is happening here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I figured that's what you say. I wanted to hear, you know, your thought process on that, and just to touch on those ratios. I mean, the average, the standard American diet is the ratio is on average 20 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3, And in our ancestors, it was anywhere from 1-to-1, at the highest 3-to-1. So that is one of the causes of all of our chronic diseases of inflammation, which if you look at the top 10 causes of death, almost all of them are, those chronic inflammation diseases. So, for us and for me, that eating in a way that kind of corrects that and it's like you said earlier, I mean, you have the ability to make a choice to positively impact that or positively change that, to impact your health. And, if you have that knowledge, why would you not want to change the way you eat? And if you can take a supplement like fish oil that's going to help, then, definitely throw that in and do it. And, I mean, for the record, I'm a fish oil user and I've used it for years, so I'm definitely anxious to try what you guys have.
Oh yeah, I'll send you some. We can get you hooked up, man.
Yeah, well, and I think we're also talking about maybe getting some of this cocoa Java nut butter in the gym.
Yeah, totally. So this is actually, it's funny you mentioned that. It's hard to talk about fish oil and then nut butter in the same sentence and not freak everybody out. But we have another product which you've mentioned is comes in a packet, so it's packaged like a sports nutrition product.
It's like a single serve.
Yeah. So the backstory is, in my view, it was this was going to be like a rebuttal to like goo, and so like whatever the hell goo is, like flip over that ingredients list and say that 10 times fast.
It sounds natural. I mean,
yeah, and so it's coconut butter, so not oil, but coconut butter, the meat of the coconut whipped up, raw cashew butter, raw cacao, yacon root, some local coffee grinds, and some sea salt, and that's it. And it's a real food kind of fuel source. It's also kind of biased in this macronutrient fat fuel source, which kind of speaks to our worldview a little bit, and it tastes ridiculously good. And so
you're gonna have to back up and repeat that wild yacon and tell everybody what that is.
Yeah, so you're a fan of yacon root, and I was excited because almost no one knows what it is. You know what I mean? This product, we worked on it with a brand called Artisana, and they do awesome nut butters.
Yep.
You've seen them in Whole Foods probably. They're like a big competitor of Justin's, and that's where I got exposed to coconut butter. I was just like, what is this?
And that's as you were saying, the ingredients. I'm getting really excited because we have an office space that's about 5 minutes away from the gym where I'll sometimes go and do work, and it's right next to our local co-op. So a lot of times if I need food, I'll run in there and they have the Artisana coconut butter. Yeah. And I'll get some fresh almond butter, and I'll take a spoonful, take one spoon, get a little bit of one, and then stick it in the other and get a little bit. So I'm mixing those two on my own already. So I can't wait to try this with the cashew butter.
You're one step away from creating it yourself.
I know. So.
You need to just dink around on Adobe Illustrator and put it in a package. You had it.
So, but it's, we're talking single serve packets, and Yep. So the thing that has me excited about the yacon is that, you guys are using that instead of agave or something else that is commonly used in those type of products.
Yeah. This speaks to the brand in general. And maybe this is a negative view. I'm a generally very overly optimistic individual, but when it comes to things like fitness and nutrition, I'm quite pessimistic with the world around me. And so when I see something in a package, I flip it over, and the little jerk in my mind says, "All right, so what's the thing that's gonna piss me off about this label?"
Yeah,
it's like
it is like you're just waiting. You're waiting to see the thing that's like, no, I'm not going to eat this. Like, what's
exactly?
Yeah.
And so there's some gut health benefits to yacon root. It's an excellent substitute for kind of the sweeteners that are not contributing to the type of performance lifestyle that we're speaking to, and so that was a much better fit for us. It's an incredible resource, and we're not going to put sugars in anything that we do. So it's an obvious good fit.
Yeah. So and specifically, my beef with agave is that it contributes to that omega-6 ratio and increases inflammation that we just mentioned that we're trying to correct by taking fish oil. And with the yacon, it's got fructooligosaccharides, which, like you said, improve gut health, and that's they're responsible for feeding that beneficial gut flora.
Yeah.
So
it's like when people have the omega-3 gummies, you know, and you're just like, I don't know if you're getting the point. Like, this is not, just don't.
Yeah. when you walk into, we won't say them by name, but there's a supplement store at every mall that has, you know, they look like Starburst, but they're fish oil chews. And
the best. I love everything that those supplement stores do. They're my favorite.
Yeah, I sometimes just for kicks, I'll go in there and mess with the person. Just ask them questions and give them enough rope to hang themselves.
You're looking for like a Christmas gift or a birthday gift for me, just a really big gift certificate to said supplement store would be the best thing ever. So you really put that to use.
Oh, man. Well, Logan, we're going to kind of start wrapping this up a little bit, man. I got a couple of closing questions for you. So these will kind of go a little bit faster, kind of rapid fire. So this is a new kind of little segment that we're going to add to the podcast. We started it with the previous episode, so you're only the second guest to answer this. But we want to start providing our listeners with some fresh tunes. So what are you listening to at the gym, or what's on the Deuce Gym playlist?
Man, we got a lot of like grit around there, and it's not too poppy and new. So Wu-Tang radio is almost permanently on during any of the latest strongman sessions.
You know, how much do you like the cue "Protect Your Neck"?
Protect your neck is good. There we go.
I say that like at least twice a day, and nobody gets it.
That's beautiful. Yeah, so we rock a lot of Wu-Tang. Obviously, there's a West Coast bias there, so we got West Side Connection and Pac and Cube and the whole thing going. But that's my kind of like old school bias. It's either that or, oddly enough, reggae for me. Like lifting heavy to like the least pump up music ever is like kind of fun sometimes. Danny likes more country. And Lindsay goes old school hip hop as well. There's a old school rock and then even a metal contingent at the gym as well.
Well, I was kind of hoping that with everything you guys had said earlier about that whole pirate flag and kind of the whole resisting the standard or the status quo, there's got to be some Rage Against the Machine. Rage
is fully in there. Lindsay's probably the biggest contributor to the Rage thing, but I'll support some Rage any day.
Okay. Well, cool. So I guess that's going to bring us to our usual close. But before we get to that, if people want to get more information on Original Nutritionals, Deuce Gym, where should they go?
Man, there's a lot of good stuff. I think we do the whole social media thing pretty well. So for Original Nutritionals, we're actually launching a new website here in the next couple of days. It's originalnutritionals.com. That's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as well at Nutritionals.
You don't have to spell all that out. We'll do show notes, and I'll put all those links in there. So if you just rattle off the links you want, we'll make sure they get thrown in the show notes, and people just click their way there.
Yeah, DeuceGym.com is the main deal for the gym. There's a blog every day. I think people enjoy that. Kind of near and far. Deuce_Gym is where you can find that. I am at Functional Coach, all one word, on Twitter and Instagram. And the new addition, Deuce_Athletics, is the new location in Torrance on Twitter and Instagram, and they have a Facebook page as well.
Awesome.
So that's where you can find it.
All right. So the close that we do with everybody is it's one question but kind of two parts. There's an A and a B. So
Yeah.
part A is if people listening only take one thing away from this podcast, what is the one thing that you want them to leave here with?
I like it. I like to think big, so bear with me on the corny stuff. What I talk with people a lot about is, not just in a feel-good type of way, but in a responsibility or a duty type of way. I firmly believe that we all have a responsibility and a duty to follow your dream and your passion. And you mathematically are a bigger asset to yourself and the community around you. Your utility is higher the moment that you do that. And the way that I talk about that is, if I am toiling away, say in my instance, like at the gym, right? I can work longer hours than you can. I can work harder than you can. I can deal with adversity harder than you can because this is my particular passion. And your passion doesn't need to be mine and vice versa. But if you're not following that, you're less effective to yourself and the people around you. And so I don't need you to work at the bank if you don't want to work at the bank, because I don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean? I don't need you to be a dentist if you don't want to be a dentist, because I want to go to a dentist that thought he was put on this earth to be a dentist. You know what I mean? And so I want to somehow communicate to the world that this is not like a feel good, like I hope you do something great one day, be an astronaut thing type of conversation. This is your job, your duty, right? And so I think if we switch our minds on that, we'll all be working away at something amazing. You know?
I got nothing to say, man. That's awesome. There's anything I say is only going to lessen the quality of your response.
Yeah, you're doing it.
So part B, and I guess if you just want to say what I just said, then that's a fair answer. But part B is, if you can give people just one piece of advice, it doesn't have to be related to what we talked about, what would it be?
Man, the piece of advice would be, so everything I ever learned, I was a good student in school. However, everything I learned from my career in baseball. And the biggest lesson there is managing that which you can control. Like, we're talking about performance, whether it's like athletically or just like in relationships or your life, work, or whatever the case may be. There's no bigger lesson than that. And it seems like you've heard it before type of thing. But when you talk about that in a very black and white type of way, you can start to strip away some of the things that we run into, like emotionally. Let me give you an example. If I spend my entire life preparing to be the best hitter in the sport of baseball I possibly can, and I put in 50 hours a week extra, and I'm training extra, and I'm preparing extra, and I go up to the plate, and I have a perfect plan, I'm as fit as I need to be, I've practiced everything I need to practice, and I get the right pitch, and I make a decision to swing at the right pitch, and I put the best swing possible on the right pitch, and I hit it just right. And that ball is a line drive right at the center fielder, and he catches it. I've done everything that I could and still failed. And what that feels like is injustice. What the heck? That's not fair at all. And you spike your helmet, and you throw your gloves, and you break your bat, and the whole thing. And the question that you got to ask yourself is, what is it going to get me to feel this way and to take into my next at bat some sort of anger or frustration or need to do more, right? In that moment, am I a better athlete or am I a worse athlete? And the answer is you're a worse athlete, right? Yeah. And it seems very straightforward and simple, but we're human beings and emotion is a thing, right? And so that's probably the biggest ninja thing that I've acquired is no matter how unjust or whatever the adversity looks like, here's the deal. At the end of the day, no one cares, and it doesn't change anything. And you've got to find a way to make decisions to help yourself out the most that you can. And that means only controlling what you can control. And that's not much.
That's awesome. Was somebody in the back slow clapping? Or was
That's awesome. No.
Dude. Man, I can't thank you enough, man. This is so great. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing this stuff with our listeners, and all the best to you guys.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. This is really fun. We should do it again sometime. You've got an amazing thing going, and obviously I follow what you do and what you guys are doing there at the gym. And let's stay in touch, man.
Absolutely. Hey, it's Ryan. I just want to take a minute to say thank you so much for listening to the House of Strength podcast. Make sure you check out houseofstrengthgym.com for the video and blog version of this. And we will have all the show notes that Logan and I talked about today, lots of links to not only original Nutritionals, but Deuce Gym, and all the places that you can find more of Logan and more resources for the things that we talked about. While you're there, make sure that you enter your email, get on our newsletter, and you're also going to get our very new and awesome free gift. We have an infographic that will teach you how you can eat healthy for a lot less money than you think it costs. So until next time, thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.